And we are live.
Welcome to the Horror Syndicate Discourse. Tonight we are going to continue our top 100 list. Last week we got to number 70. It was last week, wasn't it?
69, actually. Oh, yeah, 70, sorry.
Yeah, we stopped at 70. We're going to start with 69.
Jared's just got his mind in the gutter.
Yeah.
That's not a bad place for it to be right now. It's better than being, locked in the world we're living in right now. If you're out there, please talk with us, hang out with us, and enjoy the show. I am going to ask everyone, name one horror movie, not our group, but anyone watching, name one horror movie that you think is a horror masterpiece. Leave it in the comments and let us know what you think. We're going to get started with introductions, even though anybody who watches this knows pretty much everybody who's on the panel, I think. We've got... I always read it off for the first person on the screen that I look at, which is Keith, because he spends $27 per shirt. Yeah. How much was that? That one wasn't $27. Well, that was a hoodie.
This was not. This is a hoodie. I think this was 20 something maybe.
Looks like it's swallowing you whole.
Yeah, I bought a 3XL, and it's like form fitted though, so I mean it fits me.
Well, it's got a really great logo on it. Next up, we've got Seth, who is not wearing a hoodie. He's wearing is that a Bad Moon shirt? Is that what...
From Werewolf in London.
I can't tell. All I see is a werewolf.
Yeah.
I just try to go for something out of the box, even though I should know. Go directly to an American Werewolf in London because it's you. We got Jared, who got a haircut and looks much worse. But at least he didn't drop his tuna sub.
Yeah. Welcome, everybody.
You down for a salad bar on the way to the next Horror Hound?
Yes.
Let's do it.
I don't know what it is about those sneeze guards and the ham squares. And
man, it just gives you a little wood, I guess, a little mahogany. And then, of course, we've got the good guy himself, Nathan Thomas Milliner.
Hey, everybody.
He's advertising, if anybody wants to know. So last Thursday, we started counting down our top 100 horror movies. And if anybody doesn't know, we all came up with our top 50, ranked, each of our own personal top 50. Then Nate took over and put them all into one giant top 100 list. And of course, some didn't make the list. How many did we come up with that didn't make the list? A good 20 or so?
At least 30.
30?
Yeah. Everybody's top 30 are on the list. So
yeah. So that's pretty cool to know. And, there's a bunch that we had in common, too. But just to recap, we, at 100, I'm just going to go through them. I'm not going to say numbers. I might say numbers every now and again. But to recap, number 100 was Midsummer, The Mist, Shocker, The Wolfman, 1941 at 97, Carrie, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, The Wolfman, 2010, A Girl Walks Home at Night at 93, Dawn of the Dead, 2004, Friday the 13th, 7. The number 90 is The Crazies from 1973, the 1977 classic The Hills Have Eyes, Nightbreed, The Conjuring, Let the Right One In, Silence of the Lambs at 85, unfortunately. Rosemary's Baby, 84, Devil's Candy, Nosferatu from 1922, Mandy, Inside at number 80, The Blob from 1988. The 58 version didn't make it, did it?
I don't think so.
No.
Okay.
No love for the Queen.
Let's see. Then number 78, we got Wreck from 07, The Strangers, Phantasm 2, Maniac from 1980, Insidious Chapter 2, Suspiria 1977, The Lost Boys, Psycho 2, and rounding out the first 31 or 30, Cujo from 1983. So if you watched last episode, you got this. We talked about each entry a little bit, found out how many movies Keith has seen and how many he hasn't. Of the 31, he's only seen 14 of them. So it's like a 54%.
I'm getting there.
Have you watched any since then?
None of the ones on the list.
Okay, so then you're not getting there.
I watched a new movie. I watched Psycho 2.
Oh, so you did watch one then. So
was that on the list?
That's on the list. That's
oh,
number,
okay.
71. I forgot my pen.
Yeah, I watched Psycho 2. I gotta watch 3 and 4 now.
I think the Psycho series is very great. I'm trying a new mic out, so I'll probably forget to talk into it every now and again.
I really liked number two. I think it's underrated now that I've seen it. Nobody
I
talks
like
about it.
number two also. I'll probably take one after the show. Um, so anyway, we're gonna go ahead and move on to number 69. Go ahead and let us know what that is, Nate.
I feel like a greedy here because the first three are mine.
That just means less than top
Six,
30, right?
that just means less you all liked my shit. And uh, no, number 69
Uh-oh.
is 28 Days Later.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's a universally loved movie, though. I think for the most part, well deserved to be on the list.
Definitely like escaped my mind when I was making my list. Like there's a lot of them.
You did say Days, right?
Yeah, Days. I mean, Weeks is great too. I mean,
Yeah.
it's equally as good probably. But 28 Days Later was just. People forget like there wasn't anything but Resident Evil going on at that time as far as zombies were. It was kind of right the one that kind of. I mean, you get the debate: is it zombies? Is it not? They're not dead. They're not blah 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 blah. To me, they all come from I Am Legend, and to me, it's all about a blood virus, homicidal, or whatever, people out of control attacking each other, which is what it is. There's a lot of parallels with that film, and especially Dawn of the Dead. Both films had like a scene where they go to like a restaurant or something for gas. One of them gets attacked by children, zombies, or infected. There's a shopping montage. It's got funny music, and then they end up like battling an army at the end, basically. Mm-hmm. But I just think it's an excellent film. I think it's Danny Boyle. I mean, this is a guy that made 127 Hours and Slumdog Millionaire and Train Spotting.
Yeah, Train Spotting.
Love Train Spotting.
And Alex Garland did the screenplay. You know, he wrote Ex Machina, directed that. Annihilation from last year.
That is one of the most haunting movies I think I've ever seen, Ex Machina.
So, I mean, you got some quality people. And then, that kind of introduced everybody, I think, to Cillian Murphy. And probably, Naomi Harris. And you got, Brendan Gleeson, who's great in it. So
yeah, I love him, especially in Troy. I don't like
just say, I just think it's a solid film. It's probably my second favorite of the 2000s.
Very good choice. Solid selection.
All right, so let's go with number 68.
Number 68 is another one of mine, The Witch.
That movie?
The Witch.
What is it?
Huh?
Have you seen 28 Days Later?
Yeah, I've seen them all.
Okay.
I've actually got Weeks sitting right here on my desk. I haven't seen them in a while.
You don't get extra points for that. What was number 68?
The Witch.
Number 68 is The
The Witch. A very divisive movie.
Witch is one of those movies that just kind of, it was one of my picks. It kind of, when I went and saw it the first time at the theater, I was dying to see it because the trailer was just outstanding. That trailer was just solid. I still remember that quote. We feel like we're watching something we're not supposed to watch. And I got to see this thing. And when I went, as Married with Children is, you don't get nights out easy. And so we had a night out. I wanted to see it, but I was dead tired. And that's a slow movie. And we went to a late screening. So I fell asleep maybe. I don't fall asleep in movies. I fell asleep. But my wife loved it, so I went and saw it again and loved it, and then bought it and watched it. And every time I would watch this movie, it would just get better. It would just get better and better and better. And I just think you talked about masterpieces. I think it's a masterpiece of horror cinema. Great acting, great direction, cinematography. I think it's arguably the best film of the last 10 years.
It's definitely, excuse me, it's definitely a movie that really takes you out of your world and it transports you right into that. You don't feel exactly like they said. You don't feel like you should be watching it. It does feel like it's from another time, and they did a great job with cinematography, especially. It was one for me that I had to watch a second time before I actually liked it. Then again, as I said last episode, sometimes it takes me 2 watches to enjoy something. But is my mic too loud? I just realized. Okay. But the first time I saw it was in the theater. I needed to see it. It felt like it was one of those ones I had to see, and I saw it, and it was ruined by other moviegoers complaining about it. And so
I
I
hate
bought it on
that.
Blu-ray. Took me about a year to watch it, but after watching it on Blu-ray and getting to see it in peace, even though I love the theater, there's times that I like to be able to see things in peace. I really enjoyed it the second time around, and the ending is fantastic. It's a great payoff in my opinion, and that can help make a movie as well, in my opinion. So I think it's a good one. Anybody else seen The Witch?
I
Oh
need to
yeah.
watch it
Yeah, I
again.
was looking right at Keith.
I know. I think I'm the only
Yeah.
one here that doesn't like it, aren't I?
Oh, you don't like it?
I don't like The Witch. That's why I said I need to watch it again.
So watch it again. It's a good
Well, then
movie.
you probably, if you liked The Lighthouse, that's the same
See, I
director.
like The Lighthouse way more. But it might just be the time period and the theme. Like that was more my kind of thing. Like I liked
I
the
mean,
whole
that's the thing about
piratey
that.
sea.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing about that movie was unique was that he wrote it not for modern audiences, but for those people. That was their nightmare. Like they believed in witchcraft as much as they believed in the sky. I mean, that was like this is like how it
Yeah.
was. So that was an intricate part of their daily life was that fear of witchcraft and the devil and but there's also so many layers of is it really that or is it mental illness or is it the fungus growing on the corn and the garlic and the stuff hanging around the house that could cause them to hallucinate and so there's
Balls.
all these different options. It's kind of like the Exorcist, where the Exorcist presents scientific possibility plus the supernatural and the Catholic ideas. I don't know. I think it's already proven itself to be a classic for this time. It'll be a movie that's talked about for the next 30, 40 years, even though people
Yeah, and
say.
anybody watching, let us know what you think of The Witch in the comments. We'd like to know.
I know
It's a good
Chris
um,
movie.
Chris Hall is mad Jared cut his hair.
Oh,
Well,
I'm sorry, man.
yeah, just rest easy, Chris. He got glamour shots before he got it cut.
Yeah, he said no, all caps. Well, that changes an art project I was doing for you guys.
Uh-oh. Interesting.
uh, Next up is another one of mine. I know some of you like this one, The Hills Have Eyes remake, Alexander Aja movie. It's my favorite horror remake.
I just ordered it so I could watch it again. I haven't seen that movie since like high school maybe because I saw it when it came out, and that movie scared the shit out of me as a child. Yeah, just because it was, which I think we've talked about this because my generation is that everything was tame compared to that movie when that came out. So like that movie was like holy shit for me. Like what is happening? Like the super graphic and brutal.
Yeah, that was that turn in that post 9/11 where you had Saw and Hostel and Wolf Creek and Hills Have Eyes, High Tension, all that. Everything got really extreme and violent because we were living in this really different world where you had to scare people and the real world was scary. So seeing Hills Have Eyes, that return of what humankind does to one another, really started to come back in the horror genre, and that was one of my highlights, I think, of that period. It's still, it's just a phenomenal movie. I like it.
We still on
And we
Hills
already
Have
talked
Eyes?
about it on the Aja High Tension episode, so we won't go too far into it. But I can go ahead and jump on to the next one since we have touched on that one
Do it.
recently. The next one I believe is Seth's. It's 66. The original Fright Night.
Ooh, yeah.
Right, nice. Love it.
Yeah, it's just it's I don't know, it's one of those fun horror comedies. Um, uh,
It's a horror comedy that'll scare the shit out of people, and it did when I was younger when it came out.
What,
Yeah.
Virginia?
It's not like Shaun of the Dead, which I don't think scared anybody. It's a horror comedy that actually scares people, I think.
yeah, and yeah, it was like a vampire version of Rear Window, and I really liked that aspect of it. Chris Sarandon is awesome as Jerry. I love his little henchman guy that he has living with him too. Um, it's just a fun movie. I like it.
Virginia Buchanan said, my hair is messed up.
Did Keith see this one?
I've seen Fright Night once, and
Okay.
you're gonna hate me because I don't like it.
I don't think you like anything from the '80s, so.
I like plenty from the '80s.
Reanimator. That's
My
Oh,
favorite-
Brewster!
My favorite thing
Not-
from Fright Night is like the television like priest character. Like I liked that whole idea in the movie, but other than that, like I don't know, it was just too cheesy, and like the romance thing with the window and stuff, I just didn't like it that much.
Okay, well, you're excluded from any '80s conversations. We're ever gonna have.
There's Hades movies on my list.
Yeah, like Evil Dead 2 doesn't count. That's on everybody's list. Anyway, let's move on. If anybody else has any,
Number 65 is, I believe, Jared's. It's Cannibal Holocaust.
Woo! Yeah. I might be in the minority on this one.
you are in the minority on this one.
Yeah. It's a pretty graphic film for its time, and it precursored a lot of found footage films, and it definitely was a
I
trailblazer.
think it's credited as the first, isn't it?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely a trailblazer when it comes to found footage films, that's for sure. And the impact that it had on the horror community was completely crazy, because this was before the video nasties list came out, and it was banned like over throughout half the world. And I mean, obviously, because there was some animal mutilation and stuff in it that was real. So I mean, for obvious reasons, it was banned all over the place. But just the impact alone that movie had on me is like, it just kind of like pushed the envelope of what I think a horror movie could really be.
It's the granddaddy of the cannibal.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's it's the top one. Like if you think of cannibal movies, it doesn't get any better than that one. And it's again, when they had to prove that the girl was alive and shit. I mean, it's just really a highly effective. It's one of those. That's one of those movies that's kind of a right of arms thing for horror fans. Like, I have to see this movie. And you have to test yourself to sit through Cannibal Holocaust.
Yeah, I agree.
If you
with
can
that.
watch that one, you could probably brave a lot of movies.
Yeah, because that was on my 500 list last year. I was like, I gotta watch this. I've never seen it. It's a big one. It's one of those rite of passage type movies for the horror fans. I hated it, but that's okay. I prefer. I'm not a big Cannibal fan, but I preferred Cannibal Ferox and Eaten Alive over that movie because they're more ridiculous, more Italian horror style than Cannibal Holocaust was. I just didn't like it, but Keith has not seen it, I'm sure.
No, I've heard of it 1,000 times. Never.
You
watched
probably hate it.
it. I probably
Seth, have you ever seen it?
Definitely don't watch it with your fiance, Keith. No.
would. I'll take it. There's animal harm in it.
Yes.
I do believe it's on Shudder if anybody wants to brave Cannibal Holocaust.
I mean, it's something I think every horror fan should watch. But I've never been a huge cannibal movie fan. I don't know. But if you're gonna watch one, that's the one to watch, in my opinion. But,
There's a whole nother list in what you just said. Movies every horror fan should see. There's a whole nother list right there we could make.
True.
All right, 64.
Number 64 is The Hitcher, the original, 1983. I think it's Seth, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I saw that movie when I was young, and it fucked me up, I will say. And I don't mind the remake. How do you feel about the remake?
Remake was, I mean, it was okay up until a point. I really liked Sean Bean.
Yeah,
in
Sean
it.
Bean was good.
He was great. The kid that played Jim wasn't bad. I don't really mind that they switched it up and killed Jim instead of the girl, but then just everything that came after was kind of cheesy. And I don't know. I don't think Closer by Nine Inch Nails really works for a police chasing.
Yeah, that is kind of a weird hit-tempered song for something like that.
Yeah. The old one, I remember in my youth of horror seeing that, and it went right on my list of movies. And there's that one scene, and you probably know what I'm talking about, that stuck out forever in my brain. So it went on the list with Dawn of the Dead and the movies. Reanimator was one I couldn't watch for a long time, and it went right on that list. And I saw it again when I was like 16. I'm like, I was a pussy. So, it's a good movie.
I think everybody starts off that way at the beginning.
Yeah. Keith, have you seen that?
I have seen the remake.
That doesn't count. All right, you got anything else you want to say about The Hitcher?
No, I mean it's just one of the things that the remake didn't have was that the original did was there was a certain level of intensity, especially between Rucker and the kid that played Jim. But it's just such a good like a cat and mouse road movie. Anytime I watch any road movie, that's definitely one to watch. Duel and The Hitcher really stand out for me.
They're great. I mean, it's almost like the movie one of the movies Hitchcock never got to make kind of thing. There's a very Hitchcockian thriller vibe to that. Or you could have seen that in the '50s, like with Robert Mitchum playing The Hitcher or something. That would have been cool.
Yeah,
it's got a classic feel with a slasher touch, I think. And the great road movies are always fun. I like road movies.
Yeah.
Next up is Martyrs.
This number 63.
Yep.
Yeah. Martyrs would have been one of them that I chose. Another crazy one. It's a French flick. Kind of like Nate was saying a little earlier, it kind of came out in that extreme horror phase, around the time a lot of those other ones did. And that movie stuck with me on many levels because it's not just a torture style film. Like it actually had some existentialism and, like religious archetype scenarios to it. So, I mean, it was a lot deeper than just being
It wasn't what I
straight torture porn movie.
Yeah, it wasn't what I expected at all. This is another one I say should be on that list if we ever make one of horror musts. Every horror fan should see Martyrs.
Yeah, that's a tester right there.
Yeah, it is.
That's another one like I mentioned Wreck last week. Martyrs is one of those movies where after I finished, I called up my friends, get over here, you gotta see this. It is really well made. Of course, extremely violent. Just keeps unfolding and going so many different places that you don't expect it. And by the end, you're like, holy fuck. What is...
Yeah.
Wow.
And it starts off balls to the wall, too.
Yeah, it starts right out the bat. Like, what the hell? It just keeps unfolding and changing. And I love movies like that where you don't know where you're going.
It's
when you get there,
exactly. That was one of the things like you did when I was watching it. I was like, what's happening and what's going to happen next? And you never expect. It's another one I have to see. At first, I wasn't impressed with it. Again, this is one of those movies for me. I think Cannibal Holocaust is the same way, that has such a reputation that it probably would never live up to my reputation, or the reputation in my head. It's another one I want to revisit. I've only seen it. I haven't seen the remake either, the American remake. I'm curious.
I've never even bothered.
I've heard not to see it.
Yeah. I don't see what bad point to it.
Yeah. It's like Train to Busan is going to be remade here directly, and it just came out a couple of years ago. Keith, what did you think of Martyrs?
I've not seen Martyrs.
Okay, didn't think so.
Another tally on the no.
I'm just trying to figure out a new way to say, have you seen it? Seth, have you seen it?
No.
Okay. It's definitely one to check out. I think it's kind of hard to find unless you buy it. I had to buy it to see it.
I had to buy a region-free Blu-ray to find it.
I did a Blu-ray cover for it in Germany. I don't know if you got that.
Oh, wow.
Well, I'll find that one. I have a region-free player.
NSM Records, I think, was the one that put it.
Okay. I do. Yeah, that's what my Candyman 3's through.
Mine's just the regular cover art, looks like.
It's a black and white cover. Actually, it was a piece of artwork I did on my own, and they bought it from me years later to put on the Blu-ray. All right, next up is 62 is Horror of Dracula.
Ooh, Ray, that's my raise.
I hope. Actually, I hope everybody put this on their list.
Not in my top 50, but yeah, it's there.
For me, for everybody else, with the iconic vision of Dracula is probably Bela Lugosi's Dracula. I would assume, you've seen him on the stamp. Everybody's the Halloween costumes. But the first Dracula I ever was introduced to was Christopher Lee's Dracula in the Hammer series, and I watched all those movies growing up before I even saw the 1931 Dracula, which I think is a surprise. I'm gonna go ahead and put a K next to this one. I don't know. Christopher Lee is in my mind, he's Dracula. Of course, I'm a huge fan, and he got to be a part of two trilogies that I absolutely love with Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, and he's been in so many other things. But Horror of Dracula is where it started for me, and that really, I mean, I saw Lost Boys when I was younger before the Horror of Dracula. I always had a thing for vampires, but the Horror of Dracula really took it to the next level, especially with Abraham Van Helsing, which it's funny because I kept asking my mom, I was like, is he in Star Wars? Is he in Star Wars? And of course, who are we talking about? You guys know who I'm talking about, right?
Peter Cushing.
Peter Cushing.
And he's so great in that. And there's so many, to me, iconic scenes that come from that movie. Him with the candlesticks, pulling down the curtain, and the death scene for Dracula is so great, and to me, a little bit ahead of its time. It's a great movie. It's a great Dracula movie. If you haven't found it, they get kind of corny. 1980, 72 is a lot of fun. A little discotheque in there. Good times. I love Christopher Lee as Dracula.
Virginia asked if we have seen the BBC Netflix series.
Yeah,
I
I
watched
have
it.
not.
it was great.
It's on my list. I have not.
It's very good.
I wish the whole show just took place in the past, like in
Okay,
the first
that's a
half.
spoiler. That's a spoiler.
How?
Jared hasn't seen it.
Oh no, he goes into the future.
Yeah, Nate, did you see it?
I didn't see the series. As far as Horror Dracula, I tried to watch it the other day because I knew we were talking about it. That's one of those. Hammer is one of those I didn't get into, and I had a hard time getting into Hammer films. And the ones I like the Frankenstein ones. I like Peter Cushing as Dr.
Yeah.
Frankenstein, like
Those are
especially
good.
the first two. But the Dracula, I'm not a huge fan of Lee's Dracula, unfortunately. Like Bela and Gary Oldman and Duncan from Monster Squad are my Draculas. That's the guys that I like.
It's Christopher Lee just has a presence about him.
But I know, yeah, those films, I can't deny how. I mean, for a whole generation, Hammer was horror. But it's just one of those brands of horror, eras of horror that I personally just never made a connection to. But still respect. I still respect. I mean, because Christopher Lee's an icon because of that. I mean, I probably wouldn't have my Grand Moff Tarkin if it weren't for the Hammer films and all that from Star Wars. So,
Could you see Christopher Lee as Dr. Loomis?
no, I couldn't.
No.
I think
No.
we're lucky we got Pleasance.
Yeah, I love Donald Pleasance.
Perfect.
But every time I think about Christopher Lee, I think about him passing on Loomis, and it just blows my mind. Like, God, how weird would that have been? He would have towered over Charlie Cyphers, probably too.
It would have been too. He'd have been too powerful for Cyphers. It would have been too. He's too overshadowing of. There's just a prestige. I don't know about him where Donald Pleasance feels rattled and unsure and shaky and afraid. And I don't know
you can see the angst in his eyes.
Yeah. I think Lee just has too much power.
Yeah, he does. He does kind of steal the screen too. But yeah, I love.
Chris Hall just said Oldman is his definitive vamp Dracula.
Who?
Chris Hall said Oldman.
Oh, he was good. I think Seth is a fan of Hammer series, right? Or am I just trying to make things up now?
Yep,
Okay.
no, I am. I've been working on building my Blu-ray collection of all
That was something that really bugged me. Was there wasn't a good DVD collection for the Hammer movies, and finally you got Scream Factory releasing some stuff, and there's Warner Brothers releasing. I've got all of them now, all the Draculas. I want to get the Curse the Werewolf, and now the harder ones are the Frankenstein ones, but they're starting to come out too.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the Mummy is really good. I'm a fan of all the Hammer stuff that came out in the 50s and 60s and 70s. So, all right, we can move on.
Number 60 is Get Out.
61.
Yep. No. 61. I'm sorry. I skipped. 61 is The People Under the Stairs.
I think that was my pick.
Yeah, it was on.
That was Keith's pick.
Yeah. I first saw that movie, I think it was last year, because I was still trying to go and watch big directors' other movies that they don't really talk about. So like People Under the Stairs was one. There was like some Carpenter ones, but People Under the Stairs, it was just fun. Like it was freaking crazy and it was different, and I liked the underlining message of the film, and just I can't remember the characters' names, but the husband in that movie or the brother, I can't remember. He's freaking nuts in his freaking gimp suit with his freaking dog.
Everett something, right? Was it? I know
Yeah, it might have been.
Seth probably knows. He's a silver bullet.
Yeah. No, his character's fun, and then plus like the main character, the little kid, he is freaking hilarious through that whole freaking movie and all his one-liners.
Foo.
I remember in
Being Rain, pre-Pulp Fiction, and
that movie was on all the time. It seemed like in the early '90s. It seemed like every time I turned on, HBO or something like that, People Under the Stairs was on. I loved it. I never thought of it as a horror movie, but I guess it is.
It's a great title. Quest had great titles, man. Hills Have Eyes, Last House on the Left, Nightmare on Elm Street, People Under the Stairs. You just hear the People Under the Stairs and your imagination goes wild.
You and I had a conversation about good titles, how they're not making good titles, movies with great titles anymore, and Wes was always good at Shocker.
Oh, Wes was one of the best. Yeah. I love People Under the Stairs. In fact, it's probably in my top 5 Wes Craven movies. I just really liked it. Like I said, it's a lot of fun. Really interesting, different characters. Sean Whalen, I mean, is really interesting. What was his name in the movie? The
Roach.
One had his tongue. Roach. Yeah, so I'm a fan of that movie. It's just very different, and I love that. It's one of those rare horror films that had African Americans as the protagonists.
I think that's actually how I knew about it, because I watched the Black Noir documentary, and they showed People Under Stairs. I was like, I've never heard of this, but I'm watching it now.
And
The
Kelly
horror
Goodman
noir
took
that's on Shudder.
Yeah,
Good doc.
it is a very good doc.
That boy turned white though. Okay, yeah. Next one is 60 is Get Out. I think that's a Keith choice.
I think that
as
was
well.
mine as well. I know that one has a lot of. I think a lot of the new movies have the whole. It's people are 50-50 on it half the time. But Get Out for me was again very different. It was interesting. Also, you had a comedian making a horror film, which that had pull for me whenever I heard about it. I was like, I like Jordan Peele and I'm going to watch it, but I wasn't expecting what I got out of it when I went and saw it in the theaters.
Yeah, I don't think really anybody did.
No, and I think that movie really tension. It's a kind of a possession type movie, but the tension, especially when the girl's brother comes around, and he creeps me out like hardcore.
Yeah, he just gives off an uncomfortable vibe every time he's in a scene.
And that's where the tension really started, because I mean the opening scene was great, but the tension, like when you go meet the family for the first time, they're all very nice and everything, but the tension starts as soon as that brother. Even you could see it with the mom and dad and the sister. There's a lot of
Catherine
tension.
Keener, man.
She was
Catherine
great.
Keener in that part, the mother, when she's hypnotizing him, she just says "sink." I mean, it is. It's such a great film, and I remember I saw it in the theaters. I liked it, and then that's another one where I watched it more, and that's when I started to realize what a great filmmaker this guy is. What a great writer and structure. Like, I mean, he got the Oscar for writing for the screenplay. I mean, it's deserved. It's a tight, structured screenplay with so many layers. There's so much going on within Get Out that you can't grasp everything in one single viewing. The more and more I watch, the more and more I appreciate it.
Felt like a very out there Twilight Zone episode too.
I feel like every time I watch it, I pick up on little hints and clues, like from the beginning of the movie, that you didn't see like the first time around.
Maybe Jordan Peele is this generation's Alfred Hitchcock. I'm gonna get crucified for saying something like that.
I mean, I've liked all of his movies so far, so.
Well, I mean, he's got that same. There's the same idea that there's a lot of tension in some of Hitchcock's movies, and you kind of get that same feeling from Us and from Get Out, you know. Anyway, Let's move on before somebody we lose all of our likes.
All right, number 59. We'll just name it. We just did a whole episode on it. It's mine. It's High Tension. So we won't like take up airtime on that because we did a whole episode about it. But if anybody wants to learn more about that one, go check that episode from like what, a week or
2 weeks.
two.
It was a week ago,
ago.
exactly.
Yeah. That was the show before last.
Yep, Jared wasn't with us that day.
If you hated the ending, go back and rewatch it.
Yeah. Or watch our episode because Nate kind of
listen to our
break it down a little bit. All right, 58.
58 is The Howling.
Oh, that's definitely sad.
I don't know. This may be the first one. I know this. This may be the first one that had more than just one of us pick. I don't know. Did anybody else put The Howling?
I don't remember.
We're around that area where
it starts getting multiple votes.
It's not just one person.
Yeah. I feel like I may have put that on here too.
It's not on mine.
The Howling might be the first one, so but I know it's Seth's baby, really. So Seth touch on The Howling.
In love with werewolves.
Yeah, I mean it's a classic werewolf movie for a good reason. It's the effects, especially the transformation with Eddie, is great. Dee Wallace is awesome as always. It's just I don't know. It's one of my favorite werewolf movies. I'm obsessed with werewolves, so I watch it a lot. It's not very faithful to the book, but it's kind of better than the book. Because if you want to know, you watch part 4, which is actually faithful to the book. They're both based on the same novel, and you just really see where it doesn't really translate as well as for a big screen movie. But yeah, it's great, well directed. I like Joe Dante. Yeah, it's fantastic.
This is number 8 on Seth's list. It's not. Nobody else had it on its list. I've got the master list here. I want to know, Seth, do you identify as a werewolf?
No.
Just a question.
No.
I like The Howling. It's one that I didn't grow up on. I saw it once, probably in the 90s, and then it didn't do much for me. But when Scream Factory hired me to do the Blu-ray cover, I watched it again and fell in love with it. Just the time removed, or just the age of it. Again, Joe Dante. And it's such a celebration of horror history because he has so many like cameos of like Dick Miller in there, and isn't Forey Ackerman in there, and John Carradine, and I mean he's got Joe Dante's definitely an old school. Like he even talks old school. Like he actually commented on my cover, and he just said, "I'd see that picture," because he called it a picture because that's what they used to. So there's something classical and great about Joe Dante's. The stuff that he loves, and I think he put that into Howling, but in a 80s way. So there's a classical meeting the 80s in The Howling.
The werewolves look great too.
Rob Bottin. Yeah, and Rob Bottin's work coming. I mean, that's right before The Thing, right? He went from that to The Thing. So that guy just like back to back home runs.
It's a good one. It's probably one of the top 3 werewolf movies of all time, maybe top 5 for sure. Where would it rank on your werewolf list, Keith?
I've only seen The Howling once. I think I watched that
at least you've seen
a month or 2 ago maybe, because I ordered it because Seth wouldn't stop talking about it. And I'm pretty sure that's why I ordered it. I mean, I haven't seen a whole lot of werewolf movies, so I mean. It's obviously in my top 5 because I think I've only seen a handful of them. But
really, that's the shame about werewolf movies. There's only a handful of them. There's like a good 20, 30 that are pretty decent. We've got a list on the horrorsyndicate.com that Seth made, top werewolf movies, and number 1 is his life. Let's go on and move on to number 57.
All right, number 57, I believe, is the first one where we had 2. It's The Conjuring 2. I know I think I had that. I think
I put it on
Keith
my list. Yeah,
Yeah.
Let's see.
I think I've watched that movie like 8 times.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I love that movie. My fiance loves that movie, and half the time we're like, we don't know what to watch. She's like, put The Conjuring 2 in, and I'm like, alrighty. I just love that movie. I love Crooked Man to death. I love that character design, and I cannot remember that performer's name. Uh, that that is the Crooked Man.
Coquette, isn't it?
Yeah. Because his body is
Yeah,
just so weird. So I mean, if you don't know, Conjuring 2 is not CGI. Like that is a man in a costume, and it's great. I love Bill Wilkins.
Everything he does, everybody thinks it's just a costume. It's
Yeah.
like CGI. Like
His body
he did
is
the
weird.
leper in It. He was the girl in the Wreck film, the first one. Mama. He did Mama. He was
I love
think,
Mama.
the creature in that. So yeah, he's one of those people everybody thinks is just CGI, but it's actually just him and his, you know.
Contortionist.
He pretty much
But
is.
Yeah, Conjuring 2 is another, like, James Wan nailed both of those films in my opinion. The direction on them, the scares are legit. And Vera and Patrick as the Warrens are just great. That little great scene where he sings a song to the family.
Yeah.
It's a, you know, people hate on these things, but I think that's a movie, one of the best of the last 10 years, easy.
I really liked it.
Number 46 on Nate's list and 48 on Keith's list.
Yeah, I really like Bill Wilkins as well, and I like his whole like backstory that goes on through it, and plus the fun scene when the cameraman gives Ed Warren the camera, and he's like, "It's so small and light," and it's like this big on his shoulder.
Our number 56, I think this is one that I share. It's one of mine, but I think I shared it with Ray, maybe. It's Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon.
Yeah, that's a good one. Wasn't on my list, but that's a good one.
Oh, it's on Jared's? Okay,
Yeah,
it's on Jared, maybe.
It wasn't me, no. But it's a good one.
Oh.
It's probably in yours. Let me see. It's number 50 on my list. Yours is number 37. Yeah. So it's both of us.
That movie is one. I just loved it. I don't understand why Nathan and Angela aren't big stars. I think they're phenomenal in that movie. Nathan,
I don't know why the
Leslie, and
movie's
Angela
not bigger.
Taylor.
It's better
I
than
don't know.
Terrifier.
Like I thought it was. I did artwork for them to try to get the sequel made. They couldn't even raise the money for that. And when I would go to conventions, people would see the art, and I always saw this. Like some people would have seen it. Most people would say, "I've meant to watch it, but I haven't." And then other people like, "I've never heard of that movie." So, to me, it's like, it's a good follow up to Scream. If you're gonna watch like a double feature like Scream and Behind the Mask would be great because it's a love letter to slashers. David and Scott's script is so smart. I got lucky enough to do the sequel. Like they tried to make the sequel for a decade, couldn't get the money, so they hired me to do a comic book adaptation of the sequel. And the sequel is just as funny and great and smart. They've created this world, if people haven't seen it, where slashers really exist. They all exist. Freddy, Jason, Michael, they're all guys in the same universe. But they're not really supernatural. They're just really good at their job. They plan it. There's a process, and then they have their Loomises and they call them Ahabs, and like there's all this terminology that's built. David and Scott, they definitely know the genre and they love it, and they've created this really interesting thing. And then Scott Wilson, as the mentor, who is Leslie's mentor, who is like this retired old slasher guy who lived like married and living in the barbecue and is out, and like he's supposed to be the killer from Black Christmas and Toolbox Murders, is what Scott and David told me. He did a lot of stuff in the 70s random. He was never as big as Jay. He goes, "Yeah, I was never as big as Jay or Fred. Those guys did it best." But it's such a great, smart, funny movie. And again, Nathan's performance and Angela, to me, should be considered a great final girl She's so strong in the film. I just love that movie.
Yeah, I remember seeing it. It hit Netflix streaming in 2007 or 2008 or 2009, and I saw it. I'm like, how come nobody talks about this movie? My first reaction. I was like, this is a great movie, and nobody talks about it. I never heard of it. I saw it on Netflix, and I was like, oh, I'll check this out, and I absolutely loved it. And shortly after, bought the DVD, and have the Blu-ray. I have like 4 copies of it. Why do I need 4 copies of it? It's a great movie. I love it.
I also think it's one of Robert Englund's best things outside of Freddy. He plays a Loomis character, and he's perfect. He's great as it.
I want to see him in that role.
Wilson part, huh?
I want to see him in a role like that more often.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say? You were gonna say something?
Chris Hall.
What now? What did he say?
He said like 60% of all the films you talk about, Nathan's all, yeah, so I did some art for that.
I know, I get self-conscious about it, but like, I have. I can't say it.
Is it in your closet? Or...
Huh?
Is that in your closet?
Your stack in your closet? And you...
Yep, I've been fortunate. But that's the thing. I've been involved in the horror industry for 15 years now, and I've done shows. I've met these people. I've worked with some of these people. So, I mean, it's just my frame of reference. I try.
He's not boasting.
I should have put an N next to all the ones you said you done poster.
You know?
Yeah, Ray's new list. What things have Nathan not done art for?
Well, I can give you a lot.
Keith, did you see this one?
Yeah, I bought it on Blu-ray.
Good. Did you like it?
Yeah, it's fun. I like the actor, the main character for Vernon. It's Nathan, right?
Yeah, his name's Nathan.
I liked his acting in it because of the way he goes back and forth from being like this goofy, friendly guy to like the super like psychotic, serious guy. Like he does like the.
It's time to punch in the time clock.
Good. Yeah.
I wish there would be a film sequel. That'd be great, but it's not as big as The Terrifier. It's better though.
Jesus.
There's no Art the Clown. What's 55?
55 is Son of Frankenstein.
Oh, yes.
Basil Rathbone.
It's my favorite of the 3 big Frankenstein movies. I think Seth said the same thing, didn't you?
Yeah. It's one that gets kind of overshadowed by Bride.
Yeah.
But it's, I think, technically better than Bride.
I think so too, honestly.
Yeah, I do. I think it's the best of the 3. It's definitely my favorite. It was another one that I saw later. Of course, back when you're a kid and you start getting in, or not a kid, but when you start getting Universal, you start seeing the big ones: Dracula, Frankenstein, Bride, Creature. And that one sat for a long time until I got one of those Universal 2-pack DVDs, I guess. And it was packaged together with another movie, and I'm like, wow, that's another movie. Why does nobody talk about this one? It's so good. The sets look great. The story's great. Lugosi is fantastic in that movie. Basil Rathbone, as you said, fantastic. Such a good movie. Underrated. Keith,
most of that movie is like an acting expose of Basil Rathbone, pretty much.
What'd you just ask me, Ray?
I just put a K. I don't know. I think it's even if you make a list of the best, honestly, it's probably still Bride, but this is way better. What were you gonna say, Nate?
Oh no, just said Keith probably hasn't seen it.
I've seen Frankenstein and Bride recently, but I haven't seen that one.
Yeah.
Check it out. Let me know what you think of Son. I love it.
Number 54, I think is I share with Jared. Is Mother.
Yes, Mother. Darren Aronofsky.
Mm-hmm.
That is one I just never watched. I remember advertising for that, and I just have not watched it. I remember wanting to watch it.
It's not a bad movie. I liked it.
It was tense, man. I'd say the last 30 minutes, it was a whirlwind clusterfuck, I think is what I said in my review.
Yeah, it's got a great cast also. Let's not forget about the cast.
That movie physically, emotionally shook me, like leaving the theater. Like like a little, and the thing is, it got hate. It's a very different movie. It's a divisive movie. It's an art house movie. I think a lot of people miss what it's actually about because it's an allegory for a lot of things, it's funny talking to people who hate on it or say it doesn't make sense, and then you start pointing out what it is about, and you start naming all the little moments like this person's this person, and this, and then that happens, and remember, and then like holy shit, like they totally miss it. Like it goes over their head. So
I think that happens a lot with horror movies, especially the art house ones.
Yeah, so I mean, it's obviously a movie. When you watch it, oh, they're gonna hate this one, but I just was completely punched in the gut by it. Just exhausted by it, and so, and he's one of the best filmmakers of his generation. With The Wrestler and the Black Swan, which probably should be on the list as well. And
I loved his first movie, Pie, but I don't think that's quite a horror film.
I haven't done artwork for a mother.
Well, there's always time.
Falls into 40%. All right, next is 53. It's Child's Play 2.
I think that was my pick.
Somebody else's too. It's a double.
Was it?
It was on my list too.
Was it? Yay, I'm not alone. No, I mean, again, my generation, Child's Play was like my thing growing up. I watched those movies religiously, but Child's Play 2 was always my favorite. I love the opening factory scene. It's so fun. It's great. And just the whole factory stuff is fun. And then the whole ending scene with him on is it like a rollerboard thing? But him
Conveyor belt.
Conveyor belt.
No, he's on that like wooden plank with wheels. He's got his knife arm. He's he's pulling
Oh,
himself across, coming at Andy.
That's one where it's like never seems to die, and it like at the end he just keeps coming back. Yeah, that's a fun one. That's the one with the teenage girl too, right?
Yeah, Andy lives with like a foster family, and Chucky like beats the crap out of a teacher with a giant yardstick.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like
that's my favorite Child's Play movie.
It also leads into the best opening of the series, in my opinion. Three, not very many people like as much as 1, 2, or some of the other ones. But when they're molding Chucky and all that stuff, and that's so cool.
Like
it led me to think there were going to be more Chuckies, like the blood mixed in,
like multiple Chuckies. Yeah,
like I thought that it would infect the rest of the dolls, which would have been.
You figured that would have been Cult of Chucky.
That should have been. That's what I thought Cult of Chucky was going to come down to. Was, oh my God, is this going to go back to Child's Play 3?
That would be an amazing.
Well, I am a writer, so I mean,
that would have been a lot better than the explanation they gave in.
I agree.
Thank you. Call.
I did a Fright Rags T-shirt of that.
Here we go.
Wait, I almost bought that T-shirt the other day. Now I'm going to buy it more. Is it the one with him and the knife
it's
in
somewhere
his
he's
stump?
buried the other Chucky, the other good guy. And it's got the skull without the face on. It's got the metal skull behind it.
That's cool. I do for some reason I like seeing him put back together.
Yeah, I love that.
That scene's so great.
That will be a toy review soon. Tots has released a full-size Chucky skull, like the metal Chucky skull.
That's cool.
I'm getting.
Oh wow, that'd be cool.
All right, 52.
Moving right along.
52 is one of mine and somebody else's. Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
I think that was on mine. I think.
Was it?
I believe so.
I was gonna say maybe either Keith or Ray. I know Ray likes that one a lot.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was on mine.
I don't know. It's on somebody's. I don't think it's on mine. I don't know. I love that movie though.
Yeah, it was on mine. I saw it in theaters in '94 with a bunch of friends, and I was the only one who loved it. They didn't like it. I think it was ahead of its time. I think it was one of the most intelligent films Wes Craven made, or one in just of the '90s.
My 46.
Genius, man. I mean, just the idea that a character gets lost, or like a genie in the bottle in the films, and starts haunting its creators. It's just, and having Heather play herself and bringing her own personal situation where she was dealing with a stalker in real life and incorporating that into the film, and Nico Hughes coming back after Pet Cemetery. That kid, I don't know what his parents were feeding him, but what a child actor that kid was. And just a little nods to the original. I love the playground scene and I love the part where John Saxon starts calling her Nancy, and
I was just gonna say that. That's one of my favorite parts.
It kind of flips the script a little bit.
Yeah.
He's dressed like Donald. All of a sudden, he's got the cop car. She turns around, it's 1428, and it's like that. I love that movie.
Funny thing was that was my first Nightmare movie.
It was fun seeing Heather's role as versus Roberts, and like how the fans love him and she's always waiting for him.
Yeah,
when they do that little reunion thing, they talk about that in the Never Sleep Again, and I never thought about it that way. That everybody wanted to see Robert but not her. It's a great movie.
It was a big part of the whole basis of the script was that Wes was a little ashamed that how Freddy became like a household name and kids loved him and they had PJs on it. So that, to me, that scene was him dealing with that. He didn't like that Freddy became that. He always pictured Freddy as this vile, awful human being. So to see him become this pop culture character that kids were celebrating and wanting autographs from bothered him a lot. So
yeah, if it was a one-off, it wouldn't have happened. I bet you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great movie. It was number 39 for you.
Okay. Number 51 is The Descent. I know that was on my list.
That was also on mine. Talk about a claustrophobic movie.
Oh man, yeah.
Keith,
I thought it was like the Alien of this generation kind of thing to me. Like it had that vibe to it.
Every time I watch that movie, it just gives me like anxiety. Just the idea of like being in a spot where if I just move my arm and run wrong area, I'm completely stuck.
Yeah.
Like that's almost as scary as the fucking monsters.
Yeah, that's just that's another one that came out that time we're talking about with Hostel and Saw and Hills Have Eyes and these people being put through little like fighting tooth and nail to survive something. So watching these women have to rise to the occasion of what they have to, especially with the main character, because she loses her daughter and kid or something, right at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, it was a car wreck at the very beginning.
Yeah,
grieving. She's going through a really hard time. They're pulling her in there to get her out of the house and get her to do something, and then she has to fight for her life against this evil, and it's just it's a hell of a movie. I think it's one of the best of that decade.
It's definitely, I think, in my opinion, it's one of the scariest movies of the decade for sure.
Oh yeah,
it was another one of those that was very well regarded by the horror community when I was getting back into it. So I didn't see it till 2015 or so, and I loved it. It's good. It's real good. I didn't put it in my top 50, but it's a terrifying movie for sure.
Virginia says she hasn't been able to watch the second one. I didn't think the second was as bad as it got treated. It wasn't as good as the first one, but
I liked it.
Yeah, I like it.
The sequel. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've only seen the second one once, but I don't remember it being terrible.
All right, so we're getting ready to do number 50,
All right,
and here's Keith has seen 54% now. You've turned it around. Congratulations. Of the movie, so I bet it'll be bigger this time with the bigger movies that we get down.
Yeah, it will be.
A lot of them are more mainstream and Keith friendly.
Number 50 is, I know it's on my list, someone else's too. It Follows.
That'd be me.
Talk about an effective horror movie. My God, that movie. I've told the story, I think multiple times about my wife and I saw it late one night. And, I woke up the next morning and at my job, I have to leave when it's still dark. And I go outside. Never have I ever seen somebody walking down the street at 5:30 in the morning when it's dark outside. And the day after It Follows, I get outside and there's some lady power walking, like, how fast it's walking towards you. And I'm like, oh, fuck. I got in my car as fast as I could and got the hell out of there. I mean, it was just a lady power walking, but shit. That movie kind of stuck with me.
I fucking love that movie. Everything
Yeah.
about it, the filmmaking, the music, the suspense. I
Yeah.
love Micah Monroe. I thought she was great in this. I
Oh
thought
yeah.
she was great in The Guest. Um, I don't know. I think it's just a really strong film. I think Tarantino was right too. He commented that that scene where he's explaining it, what's going to happen to her, is like possibly the best exposition scene of a lot of ever. Like when
Hmm.
he's telling her this thing's going to come, it's going to follow you, and he's up there, he's got her in the wheelchair, and he's pushing her around, and
Like,
he's
see,
laying
there
it on.
she is. Yeah,
Yeah,
that shit was crazy.
it's just I love it. I love the ending. How where when they try. Well, I don't want to give away from people that haven't seen it, but um, I think it gets shit on unfairly. I think it's one of those movies that was popular, said to be scary, said to be blah blah blah, and people are like it wasn't, it wasn't, it wasn't. So I think it's easily one of the best of the last decade in top 10.
I agree with that. What do you think,
Soundtrack
Keith?
was very Carpenter-esque too.
I have seen it, Ray.
What do you think of it?
I want to watch it again. I haven't seen it since it came out. I don't remember hating it, but I don't remember loving it. But I want to watch
The
it again.
thing, that bothers me about, like, I loved it and wanted to show people. That's when it's like one of the things for me is if I want to show something to somebody that I absolutely love, and that was one I wanted to show. The first person I showed to said it was boring. They fell asleep. I'm like, I guess I don't know good movies, but I do.
It gave me Nightmare on Elm Street vibes because it's one of these things where the kids, it's this thing that's coming for you, and you
Hmm.
can't fall asleep, you can't
You can't
rest, you can't
stop.
do anything because it's going to get you, and there it's like the kids have to band together to protect her and protect. Um, I don't know. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, that was
I
one I
loved it.
was lucky enough to see in theaters. It was pretty good.
Yeah. Josh Laterno says he loves It Follows.
Yay, brother.
Did you guys watch it together?
No.
Hmm. All right. What's number 49?
49 is Prince of Darkness.
Mm.
Carpenter.
This was on my list. I'm pretty sure.
It was on Seth's list as well, I think.
Yeah. Seth, go ahead. What do you think of this movie? Talk about it.
Uh, Prince of Darkness is kind of an underrated John Carpenter movie, in my opinion. It's very intense. It's very, um, I don't know, it seems kind of intelligent in its approach. It's got some great visuals, some great effects, and I love the ending and how it revealed that the person in their dreams was the main chick the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it's one of those movies I saw and it just stuck with me. But I'm a huge John Carpenter fan. But it's just unfortunately not a lot of people talk about that one.
No, and I think that's unfair. To me, it's one of his top four best movies. This is my opinion, of course, with movies like The Thing and The Fog. And I think Prince of Darkness gets overlooked. Maybe it's another case of people not understanding what the movie is exactly and what's going on.
Strange movie. I think it's
It is a strange movie. I mean, but I don't know. I think most of Carpenter's movies are kind of strange in a way.
It's not as mainstream as
No.
something like The Fog
Right.
or Halloween or The Thing or
And
And it has Alice Cooper in
Alice
and it has
Cooper's in
fucking
it.
Alice Cooper, so
He
that
fucking
was-
stabs somebody with a bike seat or something like that.
it.
And it's got a great soundtrack. It's a really good, strong Carpenter movie. And again, the last time I showed it to somebody, they didn't like it. I'm like, son of a bitch. It's a good movie. I love it. I think it's totally underrated. Who did the Scream Factory? Was that you or somebody else?
that was Osborne.
I like the Scream Factory cover art.
They did a good job on that one.
Yeah, it's a good one. I think for anybody who likes Carpenter, they should definitely give it another chance. I put it ahead of Halloween, honestly.
It's got a slow burn to it too.
Yeah.
You know, like the opening credits last like fucking 20 minutes. It seems.
I know you're watching the movie, and then all of a sudden, like you see Donald Pleasance talking to what's his name in the movie, and you see the credit pop up. I'm like, what? The credits aren't done yet?
Yeah, but
Yeah, the opening also feels like it's got a lot of tension to it as well. Like you're not exactly sure what's happening, but something's happening. You know, there's I don't know. There's a lot of tension throughout the whole movie, and I love it. I love it. I give it another shot. Keith is a big Carpenter buff.
I have seen
Have you seen
this.
Prince of Darkness?
I saw it last year because I picked up.
What'd you think?
I found it on VHS at a Goodwill, and I'd never heard of it.
Oh,
I want to rewatch it because I didn't understand what the hell was going on.
I think, and
But
see, I think that's a problem with movies like Mother, like Prince of Darkness, maybe even It Follows. They just don't understand what's
yeah.
going on.
But that's my thing. I'm starting to go back to a lot of those movies I didn't understand and trying to rewatch them to give them another go. But that one I'm going to order to rewatch. I mean, I love that Victor Wong's in it because I love everything he's in. But he's just a fun guy every time he's in a movie.
All right, let's move on to 48.
48 is The Monster Squad.
Yes. That was not on my list because I don't think it was on my list. I can't remember.
It's on my list.
Somewhere Brian Enright is cheering.
I think that was the one.
It's on mine.
That was one of the movies I
It's on
completely
Yeah.
forgot about.
Yeah, that's one with me and Jared. So, Jared, you want to talk about it?
I mean, it's a movie I grew up with. Like, unfortunately, it kind of got buried because it came out around the time the Goonies did. And it was, I think what Decker was doing was trying to piggyback that vibe of the Goonies a little bit.
He was inspired by Our Gang and The Little Rascals is what he was doing. I think he probably, because he had the movie. Remember, it's mentioned in Night of the Creeps, which came out around the same time as Goonies.
Oh, that's right. There's that little Easter egg in the bathroom.
That was something that him and Shane Black, of course, Shane Black, Jesus. I mean,
Yeah.
he wrote the screenplay. I saw Monster Squad at an advanced screening, and my mom won tickets on the radio. So the film hadn't come out. We went and saw it, and they gave us buttons. I wish I still had that button. It was a Monster Squad button. But I went home and made a Monster Squad in my neighborhood, as I just fucking loved it. Like I think it's one of the things that drew me into making or being a horror fan was Monster Squad.
Did you ever make a spider with human head?
Huh?
Did you ever make a spider with human head?
Uh-oh.
You know, some guy kisses her at night.
I think that movie they didn't know how to market it because it's a scary movie.
It's almost too scary for kids and not scary enough for adults.
The monsters are scary. That's one of the scariest Draculas. I mean, when he grabs her and says, "Give me the amulet, you little bitch." I mean, he's like walking towards her, killing cops, breaking their necks. I mean, it's like nothing. That's another thing. The monsters are phenomenal in it. The Wolfman, the creature, those are some of the best I've ever seen.
Wolfman's got nards.
It's a classic movie. It's one of those movies that found its life on VHS, where kids watched it growing up to the point when it came out on Blu-ray. I remember when it came out on DVD probably 13 years ago or so, the first time.
2007.
They couldn't keep it on the shelves because they didn't realize that so many people had been waiting for that and had grown up on it, and they couldn't keep it in stores. It was just selling like hotcakes because they didn't realize the fan base that was out there for it.
Yep, I bought it day of. It's a great movie. It didn't make my list. I think Monster Squad is the essential, perfect movie for kids that want to get into horror. I mean, I don't think there's anything better than this. Just like Jared said, it's scary enough for kids. You know, it's borderline. It's good. It's got a little bit of everything. And I mean, I saw it when I was 7 or 8. It was on HBO again. I watched a lot of HBO apparently. It was on HBO, and I remember thinking to myself, like, well, I'm gonna go to school and ask if any of my friends like horror, and we could start a monster club. And I did that, and nope, I was the only one who liked horror movies. So then we moved from North Carolina, and I moved back to the real world in Illinois, where people actually kind of liked horror movies. Anyway, Monster Squad is good.
Number 47 is Dracula, the original.
1931.
Yeah, that's one of mine. I had it at number 49 on my list.
I think I might have had it too. Maybe not. It's a good movie.
Another one of those quintessential, horror movies that you need to watch, for sure.
It's legendary. Let's see. Yeah, I had it at number 26. But I had the Horror of Dracula at number 14. So, let's see. Yeah, I think it's just... Seth, you didn't put this on your list?
I don't remember if I did.
No, you have Son of Dracula on your list.
Yeah. I love that film. I love Todd Browning's film. I used to watch it all the time. I grew up with that stuff, so.
I definitely have seen that movie probably too many times.
There's not much we need to say about that. I mean, it's a legendary movie. Everybody knows.
Try the wine.
I never drink wine.
I never drink wine. Keith, have you seen it?
I have not.
You've not seen Dracula?
We have talked about this. I did not grow up watching any of the Universal movies.
How long have you had your own DVD player?
A long time, but I've never had interest in watching Universal movies. I recently started watching them. I've watched Frankenstein and Bride, and I think that's it so far.
We were talking about movies that are essential. I think the Universal movies are essential to horror fans. I mean, they were the original, Freddy, Jason, Michael Myers.
I don't think it doesn't get any better than Dwight Fry as Renfield.
Dwight Fry is amazing. Yeah, so good.
He's mad.
He's come mad. Number 46 is Tales from the Crypt presents Demon Knight.
Demon Knight, that's Jared's.
That's definitely one of them.
Jared got an erection when Billy Zane was at Horror Hound a couple years ago. I saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went to his sister.
And he's not as tall as he looks.
No. Maybe it's the bald head that makes him look taller.
You were more interested in seeing his sister, though.
Hell yeah, I was. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Freddy's Dead, but I loved her in that movie, and she's gorgeous, so give me a break.
I like meeting William Sadler. I got to meet him, and yeah,
he's an underrated actor, I think.
Yeah, I like.
And he was very good in that movie. Jared, you got anything you want to say?
It's just another one of those movies that I grew up on.
That's not what I want to hear. You know what I want to hear you say.
You fucking ho-dunk, po-dunk, weld in there, motherfucker!
There we go.
No, but I'm also like a big metal fan too, and that soundtrack was badass. I had it on cassette.
It's funny you say that because I think I had the soundtrack but had never saw the movie because of all who was on the sound. Because back in the '90s, they had all the great movie soundtracks. There were a lot like Alice in Chains and all these different ones. Like Blair Witch 2 had a great soundtrack.
It was a big deal in the '90s.
Last Action Hero soundtrack was good. Also, you couldn't find some of the songs on. Yeah, you couldn't find any of the songs that were in these movies on their actual studio albums.
I Know What You Did Last Summer soundtrack's one of my favorites. Just tons of covers and great covers on there. And
Summer Breeze from Typo Negative.
Yeah, Scream 2's soundtrack was great.
Is that the one with Hush from? No, that's I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Yeah. Know What You Did Last Summer had like the Beatles cover and there's like a lot of the Southern Skids, Southern Culture on the Skids. All right, number 45 is Train to Busan. I know that was on my list.
Me too. Man.
Is that our first triple, or is that just me and Jared?
I don't think it was on mine.
I know we've touched on that one recently too. How I was so sick of zombies, and that movie just completely resurrected my love of zombies. It's just such a fantastic film.
It's more than just a zombie movie too, man. It's heart wrenching.
It's that great. Asian cinema is able to always. I've been a big fan for the last 25, 30 years of just watching Chinese films and Korean films and Japanese films, and they're so good at blending so many different genres, like humor, drama. They're melodramatic. They're funny as hell. They're action packed and they're scary at the same time. Like that movie has all of that in it. It has its tender moments. It has its funny moments. It has its scary moments. Its tense moments. Its action packed moments. You get the whole fucking package with the Asian cinema a lot of the time.
Yeah. Especially in this one.
And heart-wrenching moments at the same time.
Yeah. If the ending doesn't get to you, then you're not human. Amber Foster says we should do an entire show on horror soundtracks. That may be a topic for us. Just keep watching.
Number 44 was mentioned in the comments not too long ago, but is Dead Alive.
Dead Alive. Was that? I think that might have been on mine. Yeah, that was on mine.
We talked about that. Was that the effects show we talked about that?
Yeah. Yeah, because we
Yeah.
talked about the lawnmower scene
Yeah.
and the
There's
custard.
there's too much about that movie that's gold and
I always like a good custard.
The movie is just fun. The whole. I remember the first time I saw that, like, it all kind of had the same tone, and then it got to the part where he took the baby to the park, and I just didn't know what the hell was going on. And I'm just thinking in reality, I'm like, all these people are gonna see him like beating the shit out of this child.
yeah.
But then you see the baby run away, and he's like taller than half the people.
Yeah.
in the party.
That's one of the best scenes. That movie's just it's full of great scenes. I can't wait till that gets a Blu-ray release.
I can't wait.
Peter Jackson's been working on that for like 10 years, getting a Blu-ray together. That and a couple of his other movies.
You should do just a triple feature with those.
No,
Well,
just
you
single
need-
editions. I'm a single edition guy. Yeah, it's a fun movie, man. It's fun. It's gross. It's got a little bit of it's got romance in it. Got a little bit of everything. That's a fun one to watch with a group too. Dead Alive. That's a real fun movie to watch with a
You
group.
might send some people out of the room though.
Exactly. That's what you want to see who can take it and who can't.
that's
There goes Margot.
I
See ya.
brought that up before. I remember going to the VHS store when it came out, and there's a standee on the counter that said, "We dare you to rent this movie."
Yeah, yeah.
And so I remember that.
We can't.
I've seen that before.
Can't forget about his giant mother and her giant nipples.
An effects masterpiece.
Number
I wonder if Peter Jackson just has that somewhere in some warehouse.
I hope he does.
He walks by showing people his collection and just like flips the nickel and he's like, "That's from Dead Alive."
number 43 is Pet Cemetery, the original.
I'm gonna guess
I know it's on my
7.
list for sure. I love Pet
That
Cemetery.
may have been on mine. I don't remember.
Mine.
It's dude, that's such a good movie. Like I used to tease my brother with it.
Don't talk
growing
about
up.
too much. We're doing a show about it. Remember?
He was
Yeah,
scared
we
of
can't talk
Victor
too much
Pascal.
about it.
I'm gonna say what I want to say, and I'm done.
You get
It's
half
on-
the story now.
It's
Yeah, well, we're gonna do a
it's
whole
number
episode on Pet Cemetery.
20 on my list.
Was that in the? How many weeks is that? Is that like 2 shows from now? 3 shows?
I think it's next week.
next Tuesday, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, Pet Cemetery is a great movie, and it ages like a fine wine. And I think if you saw it before you were a parent and then saw it after a parent, I think it affects you different than it did when you first saw it versus being a parent. So yeah, number 43. Whose was this? This is Seth's list, number 43. So me and Seth have it on the list. Mine, it was 20 for me. All right, let's do number 42. So yeah, tune in next Thursday for our Pet Cemetery episode. Or Tuesday? What did we say?
Yeah, I think it'd be Tuesday because yeah, we got one more episode of this.
Just tune in every week. Okay.
All right, 42 is the Evil Dead remake.
I know that was on my list. I'm pretty sure.
Now this is a fan vote best movie of the 2010s.
I would agree.
I don't at all, but I like it. I think it's a fun movie.
It's fun as shit.
Yeah, it's a great Evil Dead movie. A lot of great effects, a lot of great scenes. It's fun. I was better than I expected it to be, even though it doesn't have Ash or I don't even know if it's technically a remake.
I think
It's a fun-ass
it's
movie.
supposed to take place in a same universe type of deal thing. But that was one thing I was shocked about. Is like a lot of times when remakes get made, if they change things, people bitch so much. But there's so many people that love the Evil Dead remake, and it's like a totally different movie.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people. I think it's at first a lot of people bitch, and there's still people who bitch about Evil Dead, but I think it's gaining favor with people because they know it's not. Like I wonder how many people went into the movie and thought David was going to be Ash, but they didn't name him Ash. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it didn't turn out the way. And that scene at the end, we talked about this a couple days ago, but that scene at the very end when she takes that chainsaw into the head of the monster or whatever. Fuck, I love that scene. All right, let's move on to 41.
Okay. Saw.
I think that might have been on my list, maybe.
I think it was.
That's not even my favorite of that series.
It,
Just
it's
to say that.
It's mine just because you can actually watch it as a single movie. Almost every single other one has, it's leading to something else. That one was just kind of a cut and dry, like, you can watch it by itself and not watch the whole series. And plus, I remember watching that in theaters when it came out,
Yeah, this is number 19 on your list.
19. Yeah, I used to watch that movie a lot. I remember because I don't know how old I was when that movie came out. I know I was young.
8.
Was I 8 when that came
I'd
out?
say 8, yeah.
I remember when I watched that. I remember I even like sometimes used to be like, I wonder if I could hold my breath as long as he does sitting in this movie. Just stupid crap that my child brain would come up with.
Okay, 40. We're gonna try to speed it up a little bit here. We got to get to at least 30.
Okay, I don't know if we're gonna make it to 30, but all right, 40 is one of mine definitely. Nightmare on Elm Street 3: The Dream Warriors.
Good film. Not on mine though.
No, I don't think it's on mine either. I think it is, and Robert Englund said the same thing. It's the favorite of the Dream or the Nightmare fans, more than likely. I love it.
It's my favorite sequel, other than No Nightmare.
Who else chose it then? Or somebody else had it? Was it Seth? Or
Was it
No,
me?
I had
Let's see,
4
it's number 48 on my list. Okay, I did put it on my list. Okay. There are 4 Nightmare movies on my list. What's wrong with me?
Dream Warriors is my top 10, I think. So, yeah,
Number 8.
I just for 39 and 40, I saw them on the same night. Fell in love with horror and the series. I don't know. I think it is. It's definitely the fan favorite. It was just imaginative, like the kills, the TV set, the snake, the marionette thing. I know we've touched on this on our special effects episode a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think it was one of the best horror films of the 80s. Imaginative, and it was a game changer for this franchise and for horror, I think.
There was a quote by.
I think it's the movie that made Freddy Krueger the massive icon that he became.
Yeah, I agree with that. Jeff Katz, I think, of New Line Cinema, said it. I'm going to misquote him, but something about how good it is as far as it moves the story forward without messing with the legacy, or something along those lines, which is absolutely true, which is a problem with a lot of sequels. It messes up the things that came before it. And a lot of people like this one because I think they want, after the first movie, and I've heard this before, that the second movie wasn't a great follow-up, so this one was more of a direct follow-up to the first movie. I love the second one, don't get me wrong at all. This is not me saying this is things I've heard. It's an absolute direct follow-up to the first movie. It's also really good. All right. Anybody else, or do we want to go?
Which brings up number 39. 39 is Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge.
Oh my God, really?
Probably shocking.
That's on my list.
That's on my list as well.
I just watched the Mark Patton Scream Queen documentary today, and it was great that he finally got to speak his word. Great, it's good. It's the first horror movie I ever saw. Love it.
Yeah, I like it more than 3. I think I like 3, but I feel like 2's more like singled in on one character, which I like more instead of it being crowded.
Well,
yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, it's definitely a self-contained story versus the other movies. I like it. I mean, it was the first one I saw, and I love Jesse, and I love Kim Myers. It's a fun movie. Despite what other people say about Freddy in the real world, I love that scene when he jumps through the window, and I love the "You Are All My Children Now" scene. I love that stuff. Even though there's a lot of people, Freddy wouldn't do that, or Freddy. How do we know? Why wouldn't Freddy say that?
And I love his look so much in part 2. I like the nose and the eyes. And
I agree with that too. The high cheekbones and the crooked nose made him look more like a witch.
I love it.
Nate, you saw this one and Dream Warriors in the same night?
Yeah, I saw Dream Warriors was premiering on cable.
Oh.
88, and they double featured it with part 2. So I watched part 2 and 3 the same night, and I recorded it. I wore that VHS tape out. That was really the switch for me. When I didn't watch a lot of horror films growing up, but that was the night that I became a full-blown horror fan and started drawing Freddy all the time and Jason and hunting down all them, going to the video store and hunting down the other movies and watching USA Up All Night and all that shit, just absorbing anything horror I could get my hands on. buying Fangoria, and all that. So that's where it all started with those two films.
Yeah,
Being
a
being a
landmark.
part of Mark's documentary was like incredible to be a part of that because it's like I said, Mark was there the night Confession premiered, and I mentioned that like he was the person who introduced me to Freddie. Like he's the first person I see on that bus, and
Yep.
to have him there. Um, yeah, I love it. I'm glad that it's starting to come around because a lot of people hate it. A lot of the homophobia, a lot of the it doesn't match with the rest of the movies. It's actually closer to the original than any of the other films because you had the same cinematographer with Jacques Hake, and a lot of the same. It looks like it's the same like area. Like if anything, the movies took a giant leap with Part Three because visually and size and scale and everything, it completely 180'd from. But Part One and Part Two feel a little more married than the other
Even the
films. They don't.
sound design
They
is very similar.
yeah. It's most people say it's the last scary Nightmare on Elm Street movie. That he was the scariest in that one. They love the look. Again, those classic moments you mentioned. That's the movie that introduced the whole Springwood thing because there was no Springwood in the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
So luckily, I think eventually it's going to end up being the Halloween 3 kind of thing where each year it's getting more accepted, more appreciated.
Yeah, I think I can see that because even for myself, I've always loved it, but when I ranked the movies, it was always near the end, the bottom of the list. But each year, it's moved up just a little bit more. I love it. I watch it now with those eyes from when I was a kid. And, yeah, I'm glad you get to watch 2 and 3 back to back. When they showed them opening night for Nightmare 2, it was Nightmare 2 then Nightmare 1 right after it. I don't understand why they did that. So I saw 2 then 1 back to back, but in reverse order. Jerks, HBO. Anyway,
Let's do one more because I gotta head out. But number 38 is Silver Bullet.
this is on my list. It has to be. I know everybody's
It's on
saying, "Oh, this
Seth's
should be on Seth's list, right?" It was on Seth's list.
It might be. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't think you like Silver Bullet as much as you like some of these other werewolf movies.
Oh, I love Silver Bullet. I grew up with that movie. My parents had the VHS, and I just watched it a lot. Gary
Yeah.
Busey is just he's my hero.
It's great. It's a good werewolf movie. It's not even just
Yeah.
a werewolf movie.
Yeah,
It's number 17 on my list. 35 for you. I love it. It's
and I love Everett
That
McGill.
movie,
Edward McGill's amazing
Yeah,
in everything he's in. Twin
Yeah.
Peaks, People Under the Stairs. We mentioned him earlier.
Yeah.
And that the reveal. So I got to watch that with my daughter this winter or whatever because I got the Blu-ray from Scream Factory, and she watched it and was loving it, and she loves 80s horror. I've probably seen more 80s horror than Keith. But she's she's it, and then the scene where is it Joni? Is that her name? She drops off the bottles or whatever for recycle at the Reverend's house, and you get the reveal that he's missing an eye. And my daughter freaked out. She's like, "He's the werewolf." I'm like, "Yeah." So that's one of the best things about watching these is the reaction for people who haven't seen things before.
Yeah, I just showed that movie to my kids a couple weekends ago.
Yeah, see, it's another one that kind of is a good entry point for kids. It's a good werewolf movie for anybody to watch. I mean, it's Corey Haim was what 14 or so when he was in it, and it's a damn good movie. It's my favorite werewolf movie of all of them. So,
Number 2.
well, you gotta go poop.
Number 2 on my werewolf list, Ray.
All right, so Nate's got to get going to his job.
Essential job.
I'm sure he'd prefer to get to 30 with us. We'll catch up on Tuesday and try to get through the rest of the list. Maybe Thursdays. God, what is wrong with me? My days are all messed up. My daughter asked me today what day it was. I was like, Monday.
I thought it was Thursday all day
coming
today.
on Wednesday. Yeah, so we'll in 2 days we'll reconvene and we'll talk about. We'll try to get through the rest of the list. And the shocker that is number 3. It's not shocker though. Do you guys, Nate? you got to go. Do you guys want to hang out for a little bit and do some more show, or you want to go? You want to end it with Nate?
I'm down for whatever.
Anybody want to talk to
I'll
us
check
about
out
some
this.
just bullshit for around for a little bit?
You guys hang out and I'll catch you.
Yeah, let's hang out for a little bit live.
All right, man. Have a good night.
Bye.
Have a good night, Nate.
Later, Nate.
All right, Nate's gone, so now we can party. No, yeah, I just wanted to, hang out for a little bit longer with our people and kind of chat about horror in general. If there's anything you guys wanted to throw out there for conversation purposes, we've been talking a lot about where it's. Oh my god, it's storming. Sorry, it's storming. I just heard it. Anyway.
Q&A session.
You guys want to talk about? Get off your chest. No? Maybe this is a bad idea because it wasn't planned.
Hey, we got 9 viewers. Somebody will talk.
Is there any questions for the Horror Syndicate while you have us? Anybody who's watching, leave us a question.
Probably scream at you
Cold
like, I
Death,
can only
which
type
is-
so fast.
One of the guys from Death Curse was watching. He says Silver Bullet rules. He's not wrong about that. If you guys have not checked out the Death Curse Society, check them out. They go camping, I think, every Monday night, which is them playing Friday the 13th live on their YouTube channel. So check them out because they're a great bunch of dudes, and we got to figure out a crossover with them eventually. I have one of their shirts.
Yeah, I do too.
Virginia said
Buchanan says
hats.
Hats. Yeah,
Yeah,
she wants a Horror Syndicate hat. I'm still trying to figure out a direct print place so they don't have to come to my hands before I ship them out. Because guess what, folks? I can't ship things out because I'm lazy. Thinking about doing a contest soon. I'm going to talk to Justin from Scream Team about possibly doing a contest for Blu-rays. So that's something to get over the quarantine blues.
I might have some goodies laying around.
Amber Foster says she wants to see a show on horror monsters. What kind of monsters are we talking about? We talking about big Godzilla monsters or
Like
classic
creature features.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what kind of
creature
monsters are
features.
we talking about? We're up for just about anything. Because I mean, we talk about werewolves quite a bit because Seth is just frankly obsessed with werewolves.
He's not.
That's your favorite.
He's drinking
Is that your
Wolfsbane
favorite
all
genre,
night.
subgenre? Is that? Would you say favorite subgenre is werewolves?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a great list. Top was it 25?
Yeah.
Top 25 werewolf movies. TheHorrorSyndicate.com. Check it out. We do have a
The ones
search
I've
bar.
seen, I haven't seen every werewolf movie, so
Yeah, but you've seen the bulk of them,
yeah.
and you won't find movies like Brotherhood of the Wolf on there. You won't see The Wolf on Wall Street on there. Yeah. What was another one? Yeah, we've got a lot of great content on the website. It's at thehorrorsyndicate.com. Also, if you go to our Facebook page, which you're watching now, you can order a Horror Syndicate t-shirt, kind of like what Keith is wearing.
You can get a hoodie.
Yeah, get a hoodie, get the regular logo t-shirt. We got some goodies out there. Every dollar that we earn goes in. There's another shot of the shirt. Every dollar goes into keeping the site and keeping everything that we're doing alive. It doesn't pad my pockets because I'm already rich. No, I'm not. But and plus, you wear the shirt and anybody sees you in it, they're like, "What's the Horror Syndicate?" Oh, they're some badass dudes, especially that Jared guy. Yeah.
I'm gonna
So,
ask a favor. Go to our YouTube channel and subscribe and like and watch my tour review and give me bad feedback so I know what I'm doing wrong.
All you need to do is speak a little louder. I
Talk
think that
louder,
really
I've heard
is
that
solid,
one.
Yeah.
I watched it on my
can-
TV instead of my phone, and I got what you were saying.
Yeah, that's where I noticed it because when I watched it on my phone, I was like, "Oh, it's not bad," and then I saw it on my TV. I'm like, "Ah,
Yeah, I turned my
That
TV up
dude-
to like 50.
he needs to not sound so timid." Yeah. My phone just caught up with Jared waving. So let's talk about the time that Jared dropped a sub on the way to Horror Hound.
Yeah, that was a fun time.
Virginia says she has a hoodie and a shirt.
Virginia's rocking in her profile picture the T-shirt, I believe.
Oh,
Yeah, so we went to, me and my brother-in-law and Jared went to a Horror Hound last year. It was a hell of a good time up in Indianapolis. And I urge anyone, when we get back online for a regular world, to go check out a horror convention at least one time. It's a great time, and you meet a lot of interesting, fun people. But on the way up, we stopped at a Subway about midway, and Jared got like a tuna 6-inch sandwich or something like that, and like
Yeah.
pulled out of the. And the thing is, we were gonna eat on the road, but Jared decided to try to dig in right before, and Karma got him, and he dropped it right on the ground, and he looked like the most disappointed little kid. What's the matter? He's like, drop the sandwich. I was like, go have him make you another one. And so I snapped a picture of him
moping on the ground.
No, I wish I would have gotten the picture of the sub on the ground.
He should have just like fell to his knees, like, God, dear
he was
God,
gonna accept
no.
that he couldn't eat that. He just wasted the money. He's like, I guess I'm not gonna eat. No, go back and get in line until you drop your stuff. That was a good weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was pretty fun.
Fun time. Next time we're gonna hit a salad bar, which I guess is the equivalent of a buffet. Right?
Yeah, buffet for salads. Yeah.
Was this last year's trip?
Yeah, that was last year. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the year before it was just Jared and I that went. Well, Morgan was there too from the Horror Syndicate. But yeah, I'd love it if you go out to a horror convention, you see someone with the Horror Syndicate shirt on, you gotta say hi and snap a picture with them, because if it's not one of us, we want to know about it. I definitely would love to see, a Horror Syndicate shirt out in the wild that somebody is wearing that I don't have no clue who they are. That would be so cool, in my opinion, anyway. Because we all have the shirts, I know, and I think, until Jared got that haircut, everybody knew who Jared was. We're not getting any questions. I just wanted to see if anybody had anything for us. I love to answer questions, and I guess we don't have to, huh?
I mean, we got 8 people watching. Apparently, just like us talking to each other.
I'm just rambling, trying to keep it going, so people
keeping the flow.
Say here, my next toy review will be this.
Not spoiler alert. Okay. When are you going to do that one? This weekend?
Yeah, probably this weekend. I'm waiting on some stuff to come in the mail.
Awesome.
Oh, whoa, that's cool.
That was a cool set. Let's talk about Halloween 3. Well, so I asked our followers about, because Jared brought up a topic that we're going to probably cover a week or two, about guilty pleasure horror movies. And Halloween 3 came up, and people were calling it underrated. So I made a special announcement that Halloween 3 is no longer underrated or underappreciated. It's finally getting the love it deserves. And what do you guys think? Do you think it's finally found its audience?
I would say yes. I loved it when I watched it as a kid. I mean, I had the same confusing moment because I had no clue what it was, and it didn't have Michael Myers in it. Because I had it in a 2-pack or 3-pack, I think, with 2, 3, and 4, and just watched them all. I got to 3, and I was like, "What is this?" But I still really liked it.
Yeah, I didn't like it initially. I saw it. It's like one of those Halloween marathons on Halloween, like 1990, 91, and they had Halloween, Halloween 2, then Halloween 3 came on, and I was sitting there waiting the entire time for Michael Myers to show up, and he never did. And so I was like, I guess I don't need to watch this one ever. And that was the attitude I had, moving forward with it. And then it took me years before I saw it on VHS in the mid 90s, and I'm like, I'll give it another try, and I liked it. I never showed much hate for it. I just felt it was irrelevant because the rest of the series covered Michael Myers.
When
what?
I'll say when I introduce it to people, because I've shown it to a couple of friends, I don't even tell them it's Halloween 3. I just say it's Season of the Witch, and that's what we go off of. And then after the fact, I'll tell them it's Halloween 3. But
then it says Halloween 3 in the title credits.
That's true.
But I wonder if it was called Halloween, Season of the Witch, if it would have been.
Yeah, that probably would have been
better received.
Yeah,
I think it would have.
It's a great story. It's Tom Atkins. It's a more of a Halloween movie than Halloween actually is, in my opinion. I don't know. I like it quite a bit. And the other thing about it, as I put in our post about it not. So Halloween 3 has been talked highly about by every single person who's been on the Horror Syndicate. We're talking Ray Canella, Baron Craze, Brian Enright, Morgan, just about everybody who's ever been on any of our shows, Mike Lombardo even, like Halloween 3. It ranks in the top 100 of all horror movies voted by you, our followers. Last year, it was in the top 100, And then it won the sequel-a-thon bracket in 2018. Out of all the sequels from the 1980s, it came out as the number one favorite sequel. So I think it's past the time for calling it overrated. I don't think Halloween 3 is overrated at all anymore. I think it's rated just fine. It's a good movie.
I think
there we go.
Yeah.
You look like you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting much more love now than it did in the past. I grew up hearing about how much it sucked. I've liked it. I've actually loved it since I've first seen it. I think it's just a fantastic movie. And I'm happy to see that it's getting so much love now. But I also see, because I'm a part of a lot of different Halloween fan groups, and every motherfucking day there's at least 20 posts on each of these about how Halloween 3 sucks because Michael Myers isn't in it, and blah, blah, fucking blah.
He isn't it.
And it just... Yeah, I know, he's on the TV. But people don't really understand, at the time that it came out, the slasher sequels it was just beginning.
Yeah.
It was in its infancy.
I mean, this was 1982.
Right. And so, Paramount was having success with Friday 13th, and then, audiences they expected Michael to keep coming back, but, Halloween 2 wasn't even supposed to happen. John Carpenter, if you watch any of his movies, he's very much a one-shot guy, and then he moves on. He doesn't like repeating himself, and he was obligated to do Halloween 2. And he did the one thing that he rarely ever does, and that's he gave a permanent ending. He killed Michael Myers. He killed Sam Loomis. In his mind, Michael and Loomis were dead. Mm-hmm. And, I understand the argument of, okay, well, if they wanted to do as an anthology, they should have started with Halloween 2. But, I mean, even then, when they were developing Halloween 2, a franchise wasn't even on Carpenter's mind.
No.
And then, even when Carpenter was still involved with Halloween 4, before his falling out with Akkad, the way that they were developing the story it was pretty much a ghost story. He was keeping it with Michael Myers did die at the end of Halloween 2. There's no bullshit, explanation out of that explosion, but fans, they can be stubborn, and they wanted Michael Myers back. And so what we got was Halloween 4, the return of Michael Myers, which I love. But, they say that, okay, well, despite being shot in both eyes and caught in an explosion point blank, he's just in a coma for 10 years. But I mean, at the time, this was, horror slasher sequels weren't really a thing. So I understand where Carpenter was trying to come from on that one.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about Halloween 3. Jared, do you have anything you want to add? Your brother apparently has to watch it again. Invite him over and watch it.
Yeah.
We're definitely going to do a whole episode on Halloween 3. Probably going to wait till October, but I just kind of wanted to bring it up because I know that Nate's probably got some things. And well, here you go.
He's responding
here on the Facebook. I thought you had to go to work.
He's texting and driving. Leave him alone.
Josh Laterno says, I didn't like Halloween 3, but it's been forever since I've seen it. So there you go, Jared. Invite your bro over. Nate says, Halloween 3 was my first Halloween. I had no idea who the Shape was. Thought it was a creepy film. It is a creepy film. It's got some great scenes. Tom Atkins is fantastic. I'm blanking on the actor's name, but Conal Cochran should be an iconic horror villain, in my opinion. He's awesome. Nate also says Michael Myers wasn't in Godfather either. Wait, really? James Caan kind of looks like Michael Myers. No, there was realistically no way in hell Michael Myers survived that explosion. Who put him out? Put himself out. He's the boogeyman. That's from Nate. Nate, we'll talk more about Halloween 3 in October as we're going to cover actual Halloween movies. Not Halloween as in Michael Myers, but movies that take place and are Halloween themed in October. Like Night of the Demons, for instance, is one of my favorites. One that Keith needs to watch again. Please. Please. It's a good movie. It's good fun. Got lipstick and boobies. What else can you can you ask for? Let's see what else. Alien Day was the other day. Everybody loves Alien.
Yes.
It's one that I don't watch very often, honestly. Alien, I like it, but I barely get the chance to watch it.
I think I own that movie like 5 times now. I think.
Yeah, I think I have 3 or 4 copies myself. Joe Bob is coming up on Friday again. Not sure what he's going to show, but this week he kind of threw a curveball by showing Chopping Mall, which I didn't expect. Any fans of Chopping Mall? No. Yes.
I
Okay.
have never seen Chopping Mall.
Okay, I'll put a K.
AKA Killbots.
Yeah, I missed Joe Bob. I wasn't feeling great, and I was like, I'll just rewatch it.
You probably won't like Chopping Mall.
Yeah, I don't know. Chopping Mall is the only thing that was I wanted to watch because I hear about it a lot. But the blood sucking freaks, I see a lot of people complaining about it, but I don't know.
Yeah, Blood Sucking Freaks was the second show, and so I didn't like that movie. But watching things with Joe Bob and his commentary, his cut-ins, are actually a lot of fun.
See, that's the other thing. I think I like watching it more for Joe Bob and not necessarily the movies.
Yeah, that's why I watched it.
Yeah, I mean, he showed me a couple movies I don't like at all, but I still am entertained by the Joe Bob parts.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Chris Jericho was on Friday with him, and they talked about the movie and watching the movie after them talk. That's the best thing about watching somebody. Just because he's shown some stinkers since he's been on Shudder. I can't think of there's one where there's like a vampire lady in the 70s and she's got a lover and they try to seduce some guy in some French hotel or something like that in the middle of a snowstorm. I can't remember what it's called. Like
I don't remember.
The Daughters of Darkness or something like that. Anyway, that was a piece of shit movie in my opinion. I didn't like it at all.
I know you
it
didn't.
was very, very odd, but Joe Bob made it fun.
I know you don't like
Bolorama one.
What's that?
The Bolorama one.
I love that movie.
There's
That was
a
fun. Sorority sisters or sorority girls in the slime ball Bolorama. Super fun movie. I had never seen it until I saw it with Joe Bob, and he made it fun. And now I want to buy it. And I can't. Do you remember Horror Hound, Keith? We went back to the Full Moon booth, and I was going to buy it because I had one copy.
Oh yeah.
I got there, it was gone. Of course. And I would, if not for Joe Bob, I'd never seen Castle Freak. So I definitely suggest. I do not work for Shudder in any way, shape, or form, but I can't say if you're a horror fan and you don't have Shudder, you're missing out.
It's cheap.
It is. It's like $5 a month.
Especially if you find a code or something. When I signed up, I don't know, like a year or two ago, I paid $12 a year for that thing.
That's good. That's really good.
You're like grandfathered in, and it keeps it apparently, which I didn't know.
Yeah.
So if you find a good coupon, buy the year.
I subscribe by the year too. It's something. One of my favorite things I have it for the Roku is they have movies playing 3 different sections, playing every time you log in, and you could just pick up a movie right. And it's like watching TV. I don't have cable anymore or anything like that, so it's like let's see what's on Shudder, and you turn it on, and you got 3 different channels to choose from, and or you can go through their catalog and find whatever you want to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, I think all the first Paramount Friday the 13th are on there right now. Which I'm hoping Joe Bob does a Friday the 13th episode. But yeah, Shudder is great. Seth, have you ever used Shudder? You should, bro. You should.
You'd like Joe Bob, I think.
I think so too. I think Jared, unfortunately, he streams things through his PS4, and there is still no Shudder app for the PS4, and that is an issue. Yeah, Nate says I fast forward to Joe Bob because I have seen. Yeah, I did that with Reanimator and Hellraiser, even though I love both of those movies. I just wanted to see what Joe Bob had to say about each one. Like when we did our Hellraiser episode a couple weeks ago, I believe I watched it with Joe Bob and just fast forward to the Joe Bob parts to see what he would say because I watched it because I had just watched it with the commentary the day or so before that.
They're supposed to be putting up just the voice segments for the movies. They don't have license to anymore. That way you can watch it with your movies.
I think they've done that with some of them because season 1 is down to like 1 or 2 titles after there was 13. Or not season 1, but the first marathon. Yeah, so plus Shudder has a lot of good giallos. It has Cannibal Holocaust, as we mentioned earlier, and a lot of the Fulci favorites like City of the Living Dead, The Beyond. It does not have zombie, unfortunately, but it's got a lot of those movies. You can find a lot of this stuff on Amazon also.
They also have original stuff too. They've got Dead Wax and Creep Show. I
Got
think
all the Channel Zero.
yeah, all the
episodes.
Channel Zero stuff.
The Hell House LLC, is that on there?
I like
Yes.
those. Yeah, all three of them are on there. I actually like those movies. They're not bad.
They also have
It's
weird
a
category ways of like they've got a slasher category and like
Slashics.
a history. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. They
Yeah.
try to organize stuff in a fun way.
The Never Sleep Again documentaries on there. The Crystal Lake Memories documentaries on there. The Fright Night documentaries on there. There's a lot of good documentary. It's worth having.
Yeah, I mean
Shudder.
Black
$5.
Noir is a great one. That's by Shudder.
Horror noir.
Horror noir.
What does noir stand? You know what that means?
Black and white.
Black.
Black.
Yes. So you're just saying black. Anyway, yeah, I don't work for Shudder. We make absolutely nothing off Shudder, but I suggested. I remember early on with the Horror Syndicate, we were pumping Screambox because of Ray Canella, but Screambox, I don't even know if it's around. Remember Screambox, Jared?
Oh yeah.
Well, it's really coming down out there. It's storming really good.
Screenbox was
Virginia
like
is
Shudder
out.
Light.
Thank you for joining us. I think we may as well end now unless anybody has anything else to say. I got some more Red Dead to play, guys.
Got some more aliens to find.
Yeah, that was cool, man. I found something even cooler. I found a ghost out in the marshes. She was crying and weeping. I heard her, but I couldn't find her. And then I looked it up, and sure as shit, there's a ghost out there, right where I was. The reason I couldn't find her is because a fucking alligator ate me out there. Yeah. So, I found something else that was really cool, but I wasn't sure if it was. It looked like a hobbit hole from the Lord of the Rings. It was built in the side of a mountain. I took a picture. I'll send it to you guys. See what you think. That game is one hell of a great game. If you're a video gamer and you want to play a good game, Red Dead Redemption 2 is great. The first one's very good too, and then Red Dead Revolver, of course.
I'd stream it, but it's not horror.
Stream it anyway. You never know. People like all kinds of stuff. That's why I wanted to do a show about other topics.
Yeah.
Would anybody be interested in us talking about other things than horror? Just kind of like one episode. I know, Seth, we talked about it a little bit, but we have other interests. I'm a big Star Wars fan, comics. I write comics, for God's sakes. If you want to know what our top Avengers movies are, just let us know. Because obviously Endgame's the best one, right? Right? No? Okay. No, Avengers. Out of the 4 Avengers movies, it's the best Avengers movie. Captain America and Winter Soldier is obviously our favorite. So anyway, thanks, Nate, for being a part of the show as usual. And we'll start with number 37 next week. For Keith, any final thoughts for tonight?
No, just excited to get through the list. I want to get to the top dogs.
I'm thinking, and this is just me, we should do a special short episode of the top 10. Just get to number 11 and stop, and then do the top 10 for like a really short episode one day. Anyway, Jared, anything?
No. Stay home, stay safe, all that jazz.
Save Halloween. Stay home. Seth.
Go buy a t-shirt.
Yeah. Yeah, buy a Horror Syndicate t-shirt. T-Public. Seth, do you have any final thoughts? Nope. Are you muted?
No.
Oh.
I can hear you.
Now he is. All right. Anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out our YouTube channel, The Horror Syndicate on YouTube. Keith is doing toy reviews now, and these videos will be up on there. So hit the subscribe button. That way you can catch all of our old episodes, even the ones before when we had people like Ray Canella and Morgan and Brian and all the past cast and Mike Lombardo. So check out The Horror Syndicate on YouTube and hit that subscribe button and tell all of your friends about us and to buy a shirt. So, or a hat or some stickers. Oh, not a hat yet. Stickers for sure. Anyway, have a good evening. We'll see you guys on Thursday for the next portion of the lists. I'm not sure if it's going to be the whole thing or not, but we'll get there. Have a good evening. Cut it.